Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cranial Diarrhea. I am Tiff.
And I just want to clarify I am the ultimate researcher. Yes, for those of you that watched the last show, yes, I'm not even introducing, I'm just jumping right in. I brought up Gif, the talking mongoose. And someone said my research was silly. What did you find out, daughter?
I found out that this stupid mongoose has a cult following.
Gif is cool.
There's merchandise.
I want a shirt. So this week I went back and I decided I would prep as I normally do
Which means not at all.
with even less.
You didn't do any?
No comment.
You didn't do any.
I did a little, very little.
It's okay. I did a 5-page research
That's
paper.
why I did very little. Because we're going to listen to a research paper today. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over.
Well,
How's your week been, daughter?
yeah, I don't know.
I was told last week you said my microphone was low, so I'm going to talk like this the whole time. With my microphone right
I've
here.
been having a lot of sound issues, and I think the first time he had his mic plugged into the wrong thing.
I will not
And then
confirm nor deny.
When we were at my house, it was on a tablecloth, and I think it kind of blocked the.
I will not confirm the microphone was plugged in to the headset area. I didn't have my bifocals and I
So
couldn't
the only
read.
time you could really hear him is when he leaned in close enough for my mic to pick it up.
Right. I didn't have my bifocals, so I couldn't really tell what was
Your
going
mic
on.
looks stupid compared to mine.
I've got a
Look how
tiny mic.
it is.
That's not what she said.
Ew. Anyway,
That
So-
does kind of look awkward. Like, I've got this little bitty mic, and you got this boomer machine over here.
I'm quieter than you.
Look at my cute little mic. It's a cutie.
Your voice carries.
My voice carries. And now the show shall begin. And so I'll turn it over to daughter again. But wait, there's more. I may just fall asleep and pardon my snore, 'cause it's a 5-page essay that we have today for you. You like my song?
No.
Oh, I
Hated
just
it.
made that up.
Hated it. Okay.
Hated it.
Um,
Kind of like you hated Gif the mongoose, but who turned out to be right? Gif is cool.
There's also a Twitter account.
It's really cool. It is. It's funny. When she told me this last night, I had to get on there and look. And some of the stuff is funny. It's like, if you're nice to me, I'll make good things happen. If you're mean to me, I'll eat your chickens. What was it you said? He was a self-propelled or self-professed ghost that came back as a weasel. Is that what it was? It
It's
was
a
some
Clever weasel
is
or
it
something,
something like
that. I don't remember exactly what was said.
All right, let's get in today's topic.
What is today's topic?
Gif,
No.
the talking mongoose.
No.
Today's topic is something that's really kind of cool. It's the Bell Witch.
Yeah, so if you are a native Tennessean, you are very familiar with this story. It's kind of our claim to fame in terms of the paranormal, I think.
Yeah, I would think. Have you ever done that? Like, isn't it like you're supposed to look in a mirror and say, "I don't believe in the Bell Witch" or something so many times, and then she's supposed to appear or some
I
crap
never
like
I
that?
never did any of those mirror games. I was always too scared.
I can't do that. When I look in the mirror and I start to say something, all I can think is, "Dang."
I do have a couple of things that are I don't know if you can say they're super related, but in terms of the Bell Witch, there I have a few. One experience isn't mine, but
Okay,
I do
that's
have
pretty
some
cool.
interesting. Yeah,
That's
it's not
pretty
in my
cool.
paper. We'll discuss it afterwards.
So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, let the paper begin.
Yeah.
I will deduct points because it was not in MLA format.
And I don't care because I don't know what that is. Um, so I have 2 points before I start delving into the actual legend. The Bell Witch legend is the most documented supernatural story in the United States.
Ooh.
Um, there are historical accounts to corroborate the story. Thank you. Thank you very much. An early account was actually written in 1886 by historian Albert Virgil Goodpasture in his
Hey, wait a minute. What was that name again?
Albert Virgil Goodpasture.
That dude owes me $5 still. Don't you like my research?
Anyway, so that I'll
I got it anyway.
that reads. A remarkable occurrence which attracted widespread interest was connected with the family of John Bell. So great was the excitement that people came from hundreds of miles around to witness the manifestations of what was popularly known as the Bell Witch. The witch was supposed to be some spiritual being having a voice and attributes of a woman. It was invisible to the eye, yet it would hold conversation and even shake hands with certain individuals.
Wait. It would shake hands? So it could go on the road. It could be like the ticket greeter and get the money and give the tickets out because it could shake hands to Geff the Mongoose Show. That's pretty cool, though. So
That's funny. I dictated this paper to Word, and it changed one of my words to fruits, and I don't know what that word's supposed to be.
So let me ask you a question. In all honesty, so this wasn't like a person that was a witch, is what they're saying. Because I always thought it was.
So that's up for speculation.
Okay, because I kind of.
That's up for that. Nobody knows for sure.
Okay, because when you read that part, I kind of took it. Okay, that kind of is. I haven't heard that before. Okay, go ahead.
So where was I?
Geff the magic mongoose.
The things that were performed were wonderful and seemingly designed to annoy the family. It would take sugar from bowls, spill the milk, take the quilts from the bed, slap and pinch the children, and then laugh at the discomfort of its victims. At first, it was supposed to be a good spirit, but at subsequent. Don't use dictation in Word. But subsequent acts, together with curses with which it supplemented its remarks, proved to the contrary.
So again, it's saying it's an entity and not like
this is what his account is saying. Okay. A volume might be written concerning the performance of this wonderful being. As they are now described by the contemporaries and their descendants, that all this actually occurred will not be disputed, nor will a rational explanation be attempted.
So I guess my thing is, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to hit this for a second. So if it's an entity and not a person being a witch, would it really be a witch? That could change the whole.
Well, no. So it was always an entity. The origin of the entity is I think where that name comes from.
Oh, so the witch didn't just keep living in the physical body.
No. But I mean, I'll there. It's
okay. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen.
There was a major film made. However,
was there?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Don't ever. However, as a native Tennessean, I must admit that it was disappointing. 0 out of 10. I do not recommend. They threw in some allegations of sexual abuse, which was supposed to explain all the activity.
From the witch or
no.
to the witch?
By the father
of the witch
to the daughter.
And
John Bell.
Okay.
They're alleging that John Bell was sexually assaulting his daughter.
So they added that in the movie.
Yes.
Dang it, Hollywood.
I highly there are many other there are smaller films. There are TV shows. I think the Travel Channel Ghost Adventures did an episode where they went into the cave. So there are a lot of other things that have aired about this legend. So let's get into the story. Did some
Dun dun dun.
deep diving here.
That was us diving to get
So I'm
the
gonna
water.
narrate it like it's a book on tape. You can stop me if you have
Chapter
things to add.
1.
Okay, you ready?
Here we go. Chapter 1.
Our story begins in 1804.
It's pretty funny. That voice is right on spot with that. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna drive my car. Okay, go ahead.
John Bell moved with his wife Lucy and their children from North Carolina to Robertson County, Tennessee, where he purchased 328 acres of farmland along the Red River and cleared a number of fields for planting.
You actually have that, like, it sounds like that robot voice, like Siri uses.
That's my work voice. Um,
Hey Siri,
Yeah.
order a Big Mac.
He also became an elder of the Red River Baptist Church. John and his wife had 3 more children after moving to Tennessee. The Bells had a very happy and successful early life at the Red River settlement, which would later become Adams, Tennessee. The family lived in peace for 13 years.
Hey Siri, what's the temperature outside?
The temperature is 37 degrees
Thank you.
Fahrenheit.
Hey Siri, where did I leave my drawers?
If they were up your ass, you'd know it. Okay. Anyway, in the summer of 1817.
No, go back to the other voice.
Oh. In the summer of 1817, the family would experience things that would change their lives forever. One day in 1817, John Bell was inspecting his cornfield when he encountered a strange-looking animal sitting in the middle of a corn row.
Hey, what's that in my corn?
Shocked by the appearance of this animal, which had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit,
It's a rabbit dog.
Bell shot several times. The animal vanished. This would later be known as the first documented manifestation of the entity.
I thought the daughter was the witch.
No,
So she was possessed.
no.
I'm so confused.
Well, listen to the damn
Oh.
story.
Sorry. Back to Siri.
John Bell thought nothing more of the incident, at least not until dinner.
Because he didn't have a rabbit dog for dinner.
That night, the family began hearing beating sounds on the outside walls of their home. The mysterious sounds continued in increased frequency and force each night. John Bell and his sons often hurried outside to try to catch the culprit, but always returned empty-handed.
Come on, get away again.
In
You
the,
like my sound effects?
in the weeks that followed, the Bell children began waking up frightened, complaining that rats were gnawing at their bedposts. Not long after that, the children began complaining of having their bed covers pulled from them and their pillows tossed onto the floor by a seemingly invisible entity.
Could there be a breeze? I think that's my cue to stop.
As time went on, the Bells began hearing faint whispering noises which were too weak to understand, but sounded like a feeble old woman singing hymns. The encounters escalated, and the Bells' youngest daughter, Betsy Bell, began experiencing brutal encounters with the invisible entity. It would pull her hair and slap her relentlessly, often leaving welts and handprints on her face and body. John Bell and Betsy, the principal targets, had dishes and furniture thrown at them, their noses pulled, needles poked into them. They were yelled
Okay,
at.
time out. Where did the needles come from, folks? Come on. We're in the 1800s. There's not just needles at every drugstore on the corner.
I'm gonna assume it was like needles of hay, not like epidermic.
See, this is where you spare the rod, you spoil the entity. This entity should have been taken to the woodshed. Okay, back to the story. Sorry, that just intrigued me. Needles.
They were yelled at in their sleep all night to keep them awake and had food snatched from their mouths at mealtimes.
Oh, somebody'd lose a finger. They pull back a nub. They try to get the food out of my mouth.
Even though they were the primary, other family members were slapped, pinched, taunted, and otherwise harassed. But the spirit exhibited only kindness towards Lucy Bell, the wife.
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say it. I was going to say something really funny about like pinching and harassing, but I don't want to offend any president, former or now in place, or anything.
The sounds the family heard escalated to a voice speaking directly to them until it could be heard in every room of the house, while especially terrorizing Betsy.
So it really focused on the daughter.
Well, it focused on him and the daughter. The other children were harassed, but not to the extent that these two were. And then his wife, Lucy, I guess the entity was like, "This is my BFF."
So I'm kind of wondering, because we kind of talked about poltergeist kind of following an individual.
Mhm.
So would this be more of an entity like Geff the Talking Mongoose?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just okay. Go ahead.
The disturbances about
Notice
which
how I worked Geff in.
the disturbances about which John Bell had vowed his family to secrecy finally escalated to the point that he shared his family trouble with his closest friend and neighbor, James Johnston.
Hey James, come here. You ain't gonna believe this.
Skeptical at first, Johnston and his wife spent the night at the Bell home.
Oh yeah, that's the thing to do.
Things began peacefully, but once they retired for the evening, they were subjected to the same terrifying disturbances that the Bells had been experiencing. After their bed covers were yanked off and James was slapped, he sprang out of bed exclaiming, "In the name of the Lord, who are you and what do you want?" The entity did not respond, and the rest of the night was peaceful.
Are you sure that's what he said? What was his wife's name?
I didn't get that.
Are you sure he didn't jump out and say, "Dang, girl"? Onward.
The next morning, Mr. Johnston explained to the Bells that the culprit was likely an evil spirit, the kind that the Bible talks about.
Okay.
The entity's voice strengthened over time and became loud and unmistakable. It sang hymns, quoted scripture, carried on intelligent conversation.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Stop. The entity sang hymns and quoted scripture.
Yes. Carried on intelligent conversation and once even quoted word for word 2 sermons that were preached at the same time on the same day, 13 miles apart.
Okay, hold on. I have to. This brings up a whole new subject because can an evil? Well, yeah, I guess because like in the Bible it says there'll be a false prophet. So I guess.
I don't think this is a demon.
What do you think it is?
Well, it's if you'll let me get to it.
Okay, sorry.
Keep stopping me with the same question. So word of the supernatural phenomena.
Phenomena.
Soon
Phenomena. I was trying to hold it. I wasn't going to do it.
Soon spread outside the settlement, even to Nashville, where the major. This is important.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. This just in.
Word of the supernatural phenomena soon spread outside the settlement, even to Nashville, where the Major General Andrew Jackson became interested in the so-called Bell Witch. John Bell Jr., along with his brothers Drury, that's hard to say. Drury, that's like rural. Bell and Jesse Bell had fought under General Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans.
Oh, so they had fought under him and served under his command. Okay.
Yes. So a few years later, in 1819, Jackson heard about the disturbances at the Bell home and decided to pay a visit and investigate. The general, who had earned a tough reputation, was determined to confront the phenomenon and either expose it as a hoax or send the spirit away.
So wait a minute. Andrew Jackson is stepping in like Walker, Texas Ranger at this point.
More like Dean Winchester.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
Shannon will know.
Oh, okay.
Shout out. As Jackson's entourage, consisting of several men, well-groomed horses, and a large wagon loaded with a tent.
Wait a minute. Several men and well-groomed horses, not well-groomed men and several horses.
Well. Loaded with a tent, provisions, etc., approached the Bell property. The men riding on horseback, following along in the rear of the wagon.
You know what they said when they approached the property? Be very, very quiet. We're hunting entities. Get it, Elmer Fudd from Bugs Bunny?
You make life hard.
I'm sorry. It's my brain. It just works that way.
So the men riding on horseback, following along in the rear of the wagon, were discussing the matter and planning how they were going to do up the witch, meaning how they were going to get rid of her.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what that
Just then, Traveling over a smooth, level piece of road, the wagon jolted to a sudden stop and stuck fast. The driver popped his whip, hooted and shouted to the team, and the horses
On Dancer, on Prancer.
pulled with all their might, but could not move the wagon 1 inch. It was dead stuck as if welded to the earth.
Was it in like mud?
No. General Jackson commanded all men to dismount and put their shoulders to the wheels and give the wagon a push, but all in vain. It would not move. The wheels were then taken off one at a time and examined and found to be all right, revolving easily on all the axles. General Jackson, after a few moments' thought, realizing that they were not in a fix, threw up his hand and exclaimed, "By the Eternal, boys, it is the Bell Witch." Then suddenly, a disembodied, sharp, metallic, is what they're saying. It's a sharp, metallic, like voice, female voice from the bushes told Jackson, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight."
Wait a minute. What is a metallic voice?
Maybe like a higher pitched.
Okay, because I was thinking like heavy metal singers. All right, General.
That's
Okay.
it. The Bell Witch is James Hetfield,
Whoever that is.
Metallica.
Oh. Whoever that is.
The men, in bewildered astonishment, looked in every direction to see if they could discover from where the strange voice came, but could find no explanation to the mystery.
It was Giff the mongoose. He was a ventriloquist.
The horses then started unexpectedly of their own accord, the wagon rolling along as light and as smoothly as ever. They were then able to proceed across the property, up the lane, and to the Bell home. That evening, Jackson told old war stories while his entourage set up their tents in John and Lucy Bell's yard. One of the men claimed to be a witch tamer. After several
Wait a minute.
After several uneventful hours, he pulled out a shiny pistol and proclaimed that its silver bullet would kill any evil spirit that it came into contact with. He went on to say that the reason nothing had happened to them was because whatever had been haunting the Bells was scared of his silver bullet.
Isn't that just like vampires or werewolves or something?
What's a werewolf?
Oh.
So, immediately after he makes this proclamation, okay, immediately the man screamed and began jerking his body in different directions, complaining that he was being stuck with pins and being beaten severely. A strong, swift kick to the man's posterior region from an invisible foot sent him out the front door.
And that brings me to my next subject. Don't do crack.
Angry, the entity spoke up and announced that there was yet another fraud in Jackson's party and that she would identify him the following evening. Now terrified, Jackson's men begged to leave the Bell farm. Jackson insisted on staying. He wanted to know who the other fraud was.
Yeah, who is it? Who is it?
Who else?
You gotta stay for the end of the story.
During his visit to the Bell farm, General Jackson witnessed Betsy Bell screaming all night from the pinching and slapping she received from the witch. His covers were ripped off as quickly as he could put them on at night, and he and his entire party of men were slapped, pinched, and had their hair pulled by the witch until morning, when Jackson and his men finally decided it was time to hightail it out of Red River.
I thought he was going to get rid of the witch.
Jackson and his entourage were spotted in nearby Springfield early the next morning going back to Nashville. Some allege that Jackson later proclaimed, quote, "I would rather fight the British at New Orleans than fight the Bell Witch." During this time, there is a rumor, legend, I don't know, that a visitor trapped the witch in a blanket and threw her in the fireplace. There's an image of this. I was unable to find details about this, and to be completely honest, growing up in Tennessee, I'd never heard anything about that.
No.
So I don't know. I think that's just...
Did everything stop?
No.
Dang it, I missed.
So over time, Betsy Bell became interested in Joshua Gardner, a young man who lived nearby. With the blessing of her parents, they decided to marry. Everyone was happy about their engagement. The evil, mysterious entity, however, became furious and repeatedly ordered Betsy not to marry Joshua. Betsy and Joshua's former school teacher, and this is a theory that some people have, that this is all because of him. Um,
All because of the school
this
teacher?
professor I'm about to tell you about. Betsy and Joshua's former school teacher, Professor Richard Powell, had been noticeably interested in Betsy for some time and had expressed interest in marrying her when she became older. By some accounts, Powell, who was 11 years older than Betsy, was a student of the occult, ventriloquism, and a mathematical genius, and well versed in horticulture and geology. Um, he was secretly married to a woman in nearby Nashville, Esther Scott, during the time he lived and taught school at Red River, but he was perceived as a happy-go-lucky bachelor and exposed his unwavering fondness for Betsy Bell. Um, so, according to early accounts, Powell politely expressed disappointment with Betsy's engagement to Joshua, wished her along a prosperous marriage, but Betsy and Joshua could not go to the river, the fields, the cave on the property without the entity nagging them, and the constant pressure was more than Betsy could take. And on Easter Monday, Easter Monday of 1821, she met Joshua at the river and broke off the engagement. So, um, a theory is that this professor, who was a ventriloquist and all that stuff, the student of the occult, was making all these things happen because he wanted this engagement to end. However, the engagement happened after the activity had started.
So wait a minute. How would he make somebody feel like they were getting pinched? Voodoo dolls.
Exactly. That's my no, not voodoo dolls, but that's exactly my point, right? Like how ventriloquism, fine, you can throw your voice, and that could be scary in that time frame, but like how are you making all these other things happen? And if this was your motive, why were you doing this before this engagement?
It's voodoo.
So anyway, the disturbances did seem to decrease after Betsy and Joshua's engagement ended, but the entity continued to express her disdain for John Bell, relentlessly vowing to kill him. Bell had been experiencing episodes of twitching in his face and difficulty swallowing for almost a year, and the malady grew worse with time. By the fall of 1820, his declining...
So he had a stroke.
Mm-hmm. By the fall of 1820, his declining health had confined him to the house, where the malicious entity continuously removed his shoes when he tried to walk, slapped his face when he recovered from his seizures. Her shrill voice was heard all over the farm, cursing and chastising Old Jack Bell. That's what the entity called him, Old Jack Bell. John Bell breathed his last breath on the morning of December 20th, 1820, after slipping into a coma on the day prior. Immediately after his death, the family found a vial of strange black liquid in the cupboard. The entity exclaimed, "I gave old Jack a big old dose of that last night, which fixed him." The Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee, tells this part of the story. That's interesting.
The part you just read is what they tell?
I'm about to tell you
the
whole thing. On the morning of December 19th, John Bell failed to wake at his regular time. When the family noticed he was sleeping unnaturally, they attempted to rouse him. They discovered Bell was in a stupor and couldn't be completely awakened. John Jr. went to the medicine cupboard to get his medication and noticed it was gone. In its place, he found a strange vial. No one claimed to have replaced the medicine with the vial. A doctor was summoned to the house. The witch began taunting that she had placed the vial in the medicine cabinet and given John Sr. a dose while he slept. Contents of the vial were tested on a cat and discovered to be highly poisonous.
Poor cat.
Yeah.
That was a catastrophe.
Well, so when they tested, John Jr. gave the cat like a drop of the poison, and it is said that the cat jumped into the air, rolled over in midair, and was dead when it hit the floor.
It's a catastrophe.
So he died. John Bell died December 20th. Kate, which is what he called the entity, Kate, was quiet until after the funeral. After the grave was filled, the witch began singing loudly and joyously. The singing continued until all friends and family left the gravesite, and as the crowd of
Moinas.
mourners began leaving the
New
graveyard,
Jersey.
the Bell Witch entity laughed and sang a song about a bottle of brandy. The entity's presence was almost non existent after John Bell's demise, as though it had fulfilled its purpose. John Bell's death was attributed to the Bell Witch, making Tennessee the only state to recognize a person's death to the supernatural. In April of 1821, the entity visited John Bell's widow, Lucy, and told her that it was leaving but would be returning in 7 years. The entity did return in 1828 as promised. Most of the return visit centered on John Bell Jr., with whom the entity discussed the origin of life, civilization, Christianity, and the need for a major spiritual reawakening. Of particular significance were its predictions of the Civil War and other major events including World Wars I and II. The entity bade farewell after 3 weeks, promising to visit John Bell's most direct descendant in 107 years. The year would be 1935, and the closest living direct descendant at that time was Nashville physician Dr. Charles Bailey Bell, a neurologist and John Bell Sr.'s great-grandson. In 1934, Dr. Bell published a book about the Bell Witch, likely to raise awareness of the spirit's impending return. The book contained the first ever account of the alleged conferences between the entity and John Bell Jr. in 1828. The author's father, Dr. Joel Thomas Bell, had allegedly taken notes during that conference and, upon his death, passed them down to Dr. Charles Bailey Bell. Dr. Bell published no follow-up to his 1934 book. He died in 1945 and is buried at Bellwood Cemetery in Adams, Tennessee. Although there is no evidence that the Bell Witch returned in 1935, some say she never left the place to begin with.
So we don't know if it came back or not.
We don't know. The entity that tormented the Bell family and the Red River settlement almost 200 years ago is often blamed for unexplainable manifestations that occur near the old Bell farm today. The faint sounds of people talking and children playing can sometimes still be heard in the area, and it is not uncommon to see candlelight dance through the dark fields late at night. Photography is especially difficult. Some pictures taken in the area show mist, orbs of light, and other phenomena.
Phenomena.
Including human-like figures who were not present when the pictures were taken. Could these phenomena be related to the haunting of John Bell's family? The cause of the Bell family's torment 200 years ago, along with today's continued phenomena in the area, although to a lesser extent, remains a mystery. So, who or what is the Bell Witch? Like most supernatural stories, certain details vary from version to version. The prevailing account is the Bell Witch claimed to be the spirit of Kate Batts, who was an unfriendly neighbor of John Bell. She believed that she had been cheated by him in a land purchase, and supposedly on her deathbed, vowed to haunt the Bell family until John was dead. However, no one can say for sure. So, the Bell Witch Cave, a popular historic landmark in Adams, Tennessee, on the property previously owned by the Bell family, has preserved some of the artifacts from the original Bell cabin, such as a chimney stone, an iron kettle. You can actually see these items along with news articles, photos, other artifacts from the time period in which John Bell and his family resided there. They have a reconstructed cabin that's supposed to be exactly the same as the original cabin. Obviously, that cabin is long gone. On the property once owned by the Bells is the cave, which has since become known as the Bell Witch Cave, and many locals claim to have seen strange apparitions.
It's the Bat Cave.
At the cave and other spots on the property, including that of an old woman prowling about, and animals apparently steer well clear of the area. Some believe that the witch did not ever really go away, but rather took up residence in a gloomy abandoned cave. That cave.
I'm Batman.
The cave also resides on a Native American burial ground.
I'm Batman, the Native American.
Other bizarre phenomenon
Phenomena. Phenomena.
reported from here are the sounds of laughing, moaning, rasping, wheezing, and the voice of an old woman whispering or beckoning from the inky darkness. There are also sinister...
Did you say inky darkness?
Yes.
What is inky darkness? I don't know what that is. What is inky darkness?
It's just really fucking dark.
Oh, okay. It's just darkness.
There are also other sinister tales of being choked, pushed, slapped, having your hair pulled in and around the cave, and others have told of being paralyzed in place or having what feels like an immense weight placed upon them, as well as being embraced with a vice-like grip.
Isn't that kind of like claustrophobic or claustrophobia?
Could be, but that,
maybe?
I mean, the cave's like massive. So, one of the most notorious legends about the cave is that if you take a small rock from the cave, you will be haunted. It will bring you great misfortune or even death. And although the entity is almost always described as malevolent and violent, there is at least one account of a child being saved from falling into a hole in the cave by the witch, who pulled the child out and reportedly even gave safety tips for exploring the cave before vanishing, which obviously is a rare show of kindness in the villainy, right? Numerous theories have been put forth about this legend overall, but all have been debunked. However, most researchers agree that something had to have caused the incidents at Red River in the early 1800s that gave rise to the Bell Witch legend as we know it today. The end. Thank you.
So, here's my thing. Okay, this kind of, I mean, the Bell Witch. You always think of like witch in the natural, the normal, I guess, understanding of witch. So this kind of destroys my perception
No,
of the
so
Bell Witch.
what the theory is
Was that a
that
strong drink? Not used to that Sprite.
Katie Batts, one of the theories is that she was in fact a witch.
But here's the thing.
And that on her deathbed, she vowed to haunt them and terrorize them until John Bell was dead.
But then
that's
wouldn't
exactly
that just be
what she did.
Wouldn't that just be a spirit then, or a ghost?
She was a witch in life.
But she wouldn't be a witch as a spirit.
Why not?
I'm just saying.
I don't know, Dad. I didn't name the damn thing.
I thought witches lived like forever. I don't know. I'm not one. But it really, I mean, but think about this in all seriousness. Think about this. So she was a witch on the deathbed. Okay, I get that. And then, so she's a witch in spirit. I understand that. But that also takes on kind of aspects of poltergeist, of just regular. What's the difference between a witch spirit and a regular spirit?
I don't know. I've never met it. I've not met either, so I'm not sure. But I will say that your typical poltergeists do not kill, right? They just harass. They don't murder. That's something.
Maybe it's a poltergeist taking it to the next level.
That's just something a little more extreme than what you would think of when you think poltergeist.
I guess the thing that gets me is, I guess all of these things are really some kind of entity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and they're kind of all interconnected. So, what's your thoughts on the Bell Witch? Now, I had never heard any of that you had in that report. None of it.
What did you know about the Bell Witch?
She was a witch. And she was in Tennessee.
You grew up here. How did you not know that story?
It didn't really. I mean,
We used to tell that story
Look,
to each other at
I'm
like
sorry.
sleepovers
When
and stuff to scare each
when we're
other.
back, well, when we were doing sleepovers and stuff, we were like duct taping people to
So
cots and putting them
let
on
me tell
porches.
you about a couple of experiences, right? And I
Yes,
think
I
I've
want to hear
already
this.
mentioned the one about my mom. So she was in a church lock-in. They were there with some older girls. And the reason that her and my aunt were there was because my grandmother was like the youth group. I guess leader. I don't remember exactly what it was. If I don't know, but anyway, it was a church lock-in, and the older girls were doing a séance, and I don't know where my grandmother was at this point, but obviously not watching the children.
Oh well.
Anyway, they were doing a séance, and they were trying to summon the Bell Witch, and my mom can tell this story way better than I can, but she said they had like candles lit and everything or something like that, and like the candle flames got really super like stupid high all of a sudden. Um, I don't know if she mentioned a breeze or not, but when I think the lights went out and the candle flames got like shot up, and then when the lights came back on, of course everybody's screaming. When the lights came back on, there was this girl that had like waist length hair, and her hair was like standing up on her head for no reason whatsoever. And so like all the girls start screaming, and Mom and Stacy are crying, and it was a whole
All I
thing.
can think from that is that movie, like Carrie.
But what's interesting is, so today
Who knew that hairstyle would be popular in the 80s?
today I was finishing up this research, and what I was doing was I was dictating to Word, and it was dead silent. I was the only one up in the living room. It was dead silent. My dog, like everybody was asleep. The dog wasn't in the room with me. I was completely by myself. And so I'm dictating this paper, and I pause um, I think I was looking something up on my phone. I paused, and when I looked back up in capital letters, it said hi. I was like,
Hello.
and first of all, like you can't, when I dictate, it only capitalizes the first letter of a sentence after you've completed the sentence, right? And so I completed the sentence, but it said hi, and both letters were capitalized, and I was like,
Okay, I have to ask. Did you
ooh.
respond?
And no, I just
Okay,
went.
just
I went.
delete.
I said delete, and it deleted the word, and I was like, oh god. Okay.
You would have really crapped if it had said, "You cannot delete me."
It kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But I have to. I guess part of this, I think, is I wonder if experiences like that come to those that are more sensitive to, I guess, that type of entity or emotional.
Well, I don't know.
What would you call that? Like when you're in kind of you have more of a,
like you're. I don't know.
you're like more in tune with the
Maybe.
paranormal, I
Yeah.
guess, or
You're
something.
just
Than somebody
more open to it, I guess.
maybe that's it. Than somebody like me that's like, okay,
Well, and then you got like you've got your skeptics, right? Like in the legend, General Jackson went there
he's got a boat in
to
Nashville.
yes.
It's a big
I
one.
don't think it's his boat, but
It's got his name on it.
yeah, but I don't think it belonged to him.
He still rides the river.
But he went there thinking that he's like, this is a hoax, and I'm gonna prove that this is a hoax.
And I'm not saying it's a hoax. What I'm saying is, I wonder if entities like that.
No, but I understand what you're saying, and what I'm saying is he went there not open to it, and he still had experiences.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But his computer never said, "Hi."
I know, that was weird.
Maybe that's kind of weird. You're kind of like, yeah, delete this whole paper.
You just
Delete.
saved my house now. I don't want anything in there. I have one rule, and it's no demons in the house.
It's the only rule I have.
It's the only rule.
You can only have family associates.
There are no rules, no demons. There's one rule.
Just family associates, right?
Family associates only. Yeah.
Oh, I think I just look at that. Yep. I think my button was off last week. But it's on this week. I've heard myself all day.
Well, we did a test run to make sure.
Yeah, but that research is pretty cool because like the General Jackson story, I'd never really heard. I had no clue what ever hearing that.
Yeah, I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then the TSU thing, I didn't know that
Mhm.
either. Hmm.
Mhm.
And then your computer thing with it saying hi. Hi
Yeah, I
there.
don't know that that's related to the Bell Witch. That could just be that could
Hi
be
there.
anything. Like maybe the heat kicked on and the
Right,
mic
and
picked
it
it up
just
or
heard
something.
something.
Yeah.
I'll never forget I was doing a paper. It was like a 16-page paper, and I was like on like page 13, and the dog barked, and it deleted the whole paper. I was
No.
not happy.
Time to get rid of the dog.
That was before I actually decided to start using autosave, so it saves every so often.
Mhm.
Yeah. But anyway, so Bell Witch, true or legend?
I think it's true. Absolutely, I think it's true.
I think on this one, I'm on the
I
fence.
think I grew up, because I'm so familiar with it, and it is such a big thing here. Even if I didn't think it was true, I would really want it to be.
I think this is one where you kind of move the needle a little more for me with the Andrew Jackson and the TSU stories.
I think that we should um, take a trip to Adams and go to the cave.
We can do that.
I think we should.
I can be the cameraman.
I don't think they allow you to do that. I think you have to have permission beforehand to do that.
I would say, and it's probably some kind of tourist thing now where
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
a
we're
big
going to
tourist
sell
thing.
tickets.
Yeah, it's a big tourist
Well,
thing.
I was going to ask Geff the mongoose, but I forgot to bring my sock in that I was going to put on my hand and mess with you. But
So you're on the fence.
I really am. But I think this one may have moved me a little more to the back to maybe even.
Hmm.
Because everything we've covered so far, I've kind of been like, yeah, except Geff the mongoose. He was cool.
I don't believe that, and I think the only reason you do is because you find it so funny.
It's so funny. I don't.
Yeah.
Do I think there was really a talking mongoose? No, but it is so funny. Hey, I'm Geff. I'm the talking mongoose. Yeah, that's it.
Can anyone
He was
guess
really
what next week's show is going to be
instead
about?
of the squirrel that went berserk that Ray Stevens sings about, it was Geff the mongoose. But in all honesty, your research on this kind of moved me back towards even because I mean I would really it almost makes me want to do some research on the Bell Witch. Almost being the key
Probably
word.
should have done that before we did the show.
But you told me last week my research was not good.
Yeah,
Even
but
though
I think that show would have been better if I had done research.
even though
too.
I had Geff the mongoose, who has more followers than the Bell
I
Witch.
tell you what, you write me a paper on Geff the mongoose.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. We have a format here. Do you not see how this works?
I do all the work, and you make stupid remarks
I'm
while
the
I'm
comic.
reading my research.
That's the funny part. I'm the, but it really is interesting. And to be honest with you, yes, I do some research, but I don't go that in depth. I guess maybe unless it's something I find that just like really, really humors me. And you can,
I think your research is based on what piques your interest, and if you're
yeah.
not interested in the subject, then you're like fuck it, I'm not doing this.
No, I am
But
interested
with the
in.
Bell Witch, like the research that I did with this, it was really easy because, like I said, this is the most
Well,
documented.
I'm going to be honest with you. Growing up in Tennessee, I thought I knew a lot about the Bell Witch, so I didn't do a lot of research. But when I started hearing what you were giving me, I was like, well, evidently I don't know crap,
I
so
don't know
I'm not going to
shit.
say anything. I'm just going to add. So at that point, it was like, yeah, I just add in because I
And
really did.
there are probably details about the haunting itself that I'm leaving out because I was on a very limited time frame. Um,
I
so
mean,
there's probably, I mean, there could be way more,
I mean,
in terms of
honestly,
what happened to the family that I just don't have the details for right
honestly, I had no clue about all of that stuff. I thought I knew a lot about the Bell Witch, but when I started hearing all that, I'm like, I'm just gonna shut up. So, but I do research for our show. But my thing is, with this show, and I hope everyone understands this, I do take this show serious, but this show is where I have fun with my daughter.
No, it
I do.
doesn't.
This is where I have fun with my daughter.
There's nothing serious about this show for him.
No, not really.
No.
I have fun with it. This is for me to have fun doing something with my daughter. And I hope you guys find it entertaining. I do. So that's all that matters. I will start doing research.
Wasn't that a
No, you made fun of my research last week, and so therefore I
no,
shall
but
not research.
wasn't that one of your uh resolutions for
Yeah,
the
but
new
don't you
year?
remember my last resolution was not to keep any of my resolutions? Do you not remember that from the show? Oh, you didn't watch the show back, did you?
Yeah, I did. I watch every show back. I'm usually the only one that watches it within the first 24 hours, and I like it. I hit the like button, so we always have one like on every video.
I watch it, but I never hit the like button. I don't know why.
The
I
like
just
button.
never thought about it, actually.
I stopped keeping track because I had a spreadsheet that I was, because that's how my mind works. I had a spreadsheet where I had every episode listed out,
And the
and
line went like this.
the number of views, the number of likes, and how many how many subscribers we gained with that video. And it started to depress me a little, so I stopped
But we have fun with it. That's all that
keeping
matters.
track.
But last week did you or did you not say my research was silly?
Oh, it was stupid. Yeah.
But did I
And I
or
still-
did I not introduce you
No,
to
I-
Jeff the Mongoose?
I still maintain that that Jeff the Mongoose is ridiculous.
Hilarious.
It
He's
is
so cool.
ridiculous.
He's so cool.
Anyway.
But I do, and I will admit, when I start doing research, when something interests me like that, and I do look for that odd story,
Mm-hmm.
like, the ghost that slapped your butt,
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of thing that I find amusing. So that's kind of where I go kind of down that rabbit hole. So, like, yes. Would you like me to do serious research for a show?
I don't want it to be like 60 minutes. I mean, like, I don't
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about Geff the Mongoose. Geff the Mongoose was a
I
talking
mean, I
mongoose.
don't know. I don't want like I don't want you to be like Diane Sawyer, but I don't know.
So, in other words, you're good with how I do my research. You heard it here first. Okay, I tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. Next week, we're both going to do research, and I'm not going to bring any humor to the show. We're going to talk strictly facts.
Then we need to do a big subject.
Yes, so you pick a subject.
Okay, we'll do that off the air.
And next week, folks, I will be totally
That's like
serious. I'll even wear a shirt and tie. I'm Walter Concrete. Whatever his name is. What is his name?
Not concrete.
I'm Walter Concrete. 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 What is his name? It's not concrete, I know, but what is it? It's something like that. It's concrete. Walter. He was so famous, and I even watched him when I was
It was
younger.
concrete.
Concrete. I don't know. I'm Dan Rather. We'll just change it. I have no idea.
Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah, I'm Geraldo Rivera. I'm Jerry Springer.
Oh my god, you're more like Jerry. Maury Povich. You
The
are
test
not
result-
the father.
The test results are in. You are not a poltergeist.
Oh my god. Okay.
And here's the results on Bell Witch. You are not.
What is wrong with you? Okay.
You're welcome.
Whew.
I guess it's time to wrap this up and put it all in concrete.
Sorry. I'm Walter Concrete.
Something like that. Concrete. I think it's
It's like
concrete. I don't
Watching
know.
him struggle, it's like me trying to say rural.
Our phenomena.
Or drury.
Jury. Was it? Did you say jury or jury? What are you saying?
The two R's right there. I can't handle it. It's too much.
I'm Walter.
I can't handle it.
Oh, that's too funny. So, I guess that's a good way to end this one.
Yeah.
All right. So until next time, check out Gift the Talking Mongoose. He's so cool. And next time, folks, no comedy from me. I'm going to be serious.
Okay.
Until next time,
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
look into concrete.